And our guests today are Stacy Kildall, who's the owner-operator of Kildall Services. And next to Stacy, we have Sandy Smith-Leva, founder and president of Accountants Accelerator. And we also have at the end of the table Alexandra DeFelice, who is co-anchoring these sessions with me. Alexandra is senior manager at Moore Stevens North America. So today we're going to be talking about marketing and networking for the modern accountant. And if you looked at the description for this session, we talked a little bit about what's the opposite of the modern accountant, which for those of us who remember, and I'm one of them, even before there was voicemail, there was straight telephone calls and either a ring or a busy signal, and those were your choices. Or you typed letters out on a Selectric typewriter, or even before electric, and used carbon paper if you wanted to keep a copy of it. And and you met people in person, and those were pretty much your choices for communicating. And so, in a more modern age, we have a lot of other options available to us in addition to those tried and true ways. And so we're finding that not only does modern communication speed up the way we can communicate with our clients and get responses more quickly and often more efficiently, but it also opens up opportunities for how we can improve our practice and actually do some marketing of our services and network with our clients in ways that are kind of far removed from the old Toastmasters or Chamber of Commerce meetings, but actually not as far removed as you might think. So, Stacy, I'm going to start with you, and tell me just a few ways that you've seen in your practice that you use modern tools for connecting with your clients.
I use every way. Okay, so to start out, when we first get clients, what we do is I flat out tell them, calling me is probably not going to be the best option. I very rarely answer my phone because a lot of times I'm doing something like this, or I'm doing a webinar, or I'm doing a training session. So I tell a client right out of the gate before we start working, it's going to be always better for you to text or email me. That's going to be the best way to get a hold of me. I can usually almost always immediately reply to it. If you call me, it's probably going to take a few days. I'm horrible at returning calls. And if this is the way, I forget all the time. I mean, I'm absolutely horrible at it. And I just tell them, and if that's not going to be the best way to, if that you're not comfortable with that, then we're probably not going to work together very well. Not that I don't ever not talk to my clients on the phone. I mean, I still will call and check in, and there are times where we do have to do that. But really, if it's like a day-to-day thing, we use text and email and instant message all the time. It's just much easier and a lot faster, and I can reply much more quickly than if I have to answer the phone and then call them back and listen to the voicemail. And I think my outgoing message actually says, please don't leave me a message. I'm probably not going to call you back. Mm-hmm. So that's really how we communicate with our clients.
And how does that translate into marketing your services?
I mean, this is the first time, this year is the first time that I'm actually hiring somebody to help me do marketing. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want to pinpoint who our clients are going to be for 2015. But historically, I have used social media to market not just my practice, but also we do the QB show every Tuesday. It's live on YouTube, and we just talk about QuickBooks and accounting stuff. And we have grown our audience completely through social media because we had no budget for it. And so clients are finding me, they're seeing my Twitter feed, they're seeing what I'm talking about, they've seen an article that I've written, a blog article. So Google Plus, on all those social media outlets, that's really how they've been finding me historically. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing. I mean, it's an amazing, cheap, easy marketing tool.
Cool. So Sandy, in your business, you consult with a lot of accountants and help them improve their relationships with their clients. So can you point to a couple of tools that you have found really successful for some of your clients and their clients?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the saddest things is when accountants come to us and they've spent money on some of the older methods. When it comes to marketing and looking for that new lead. And I hate to see this because it really doesn't work the same way it did in the 1950s or the 1970s even. And so once an accountant gets really open-minded about marketing, it's really exciting for us because in addition to referrals, we actually, what we try to do is if they're really budget-minded, we try to give them, there's like 20 options. There's like 20 different options of marketing channels, what we call channels, as to where you can actually find a client now for an accounting firm. And what we do is we try to provide that training to them in what is the lowest cost order to the highest cost order. So what we found is obviously everybody knows that referrals is the cheapest and they're already, the trust is so high, and the key to all of this is to building trust. But for me also it's leverage. It's all about leveraging our time because we sell our time and we sell our services, and in professional services what's really key about this is that we minimize the marketing time we have and we use every available, like online is such a new channel. There's just so many accountants I would love to see use that channel better because they throw up a website and then they don't do anything to customize it, right?
Or let anybody know it's there.
Yeah, and so search engine optimization, and then even people that try to hire good search engine firms, if they don't know the industry and the keywords, so it's a little bit of a training issue to get all that to work out. But what I'm excited about is what we do is we start out and say, hey, let's maximize your referrals, and I've got some spreadsheet tools that I teach for that. And then I say, hey, let's build your reputation, because that always is great. Some of the newer people do need to go out and do that face-to-face marketing so they can get that practice in on their conversation before they come into the sales funnel and practice on someone that they shouldn't have practiced on, right? Because that was a great lead, that they may not have said the exact right thing on, right? So that's kind of our philosophy with it. It's all about leverage, using the lowest cost channels first. And I'm happy to go into more, but I want to give everybody else a chance.
Yeah, so what, when you're working with a client and you're talking about ways to become more visible, what resonates best with accountants who are completely new to using social media tools?
It depends on their personality, so I don't like to generalize. A lot of accountants are introverts, and for that, and if they don't want to get out and market, or if they feel, self-conscious about that networking piece, then we can try to maximize the online channel for them. But I really like to look at what the skill set is that they naturally have, because part of lowering that cost is also figuring out what is the lowest learning curve and what's the fastest path to the new client, so we like to look at that too. So if they, the last couple clients I've gotten have been great. I say, how do you feel about speaking? And they said, I love to speak. I know, right?
Accountants, wait, what?
So I'm going, okay, great, I'm going to put a presentation together for you, and I want you to go, find some Lions Clubs and some Rotaries and some chambers and speak, because speaking is highly leveraged, right? If you can get in front of 20 ideal clients and talk about how you can solve a small business problem, then that's much better time for time as it is meeting one person at a time and here's my business card, the networking, the chicken lunch routine, we call it. So
nice. So Sandy, what have you found that you mentioned old ways, like that were more expensive. What are you seeing that people have been doing that's kind of a mistake?
Yeah, direct mail is one, but let me give you a caveat. And the problem is a lot of accountants, I'm just going to say this very directly, you know, they're numbers people, they're not words people. And if they try to write their own direct mail letter the way we did it in the 1970s, it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't get anybody's attention. A lot of times it doesn't get opened. So with direct mail, I have used it very successfully, but there's 20 things you need to know. I wish we had like 5 hours to talk about all this. But if it's highly niched, it works. I'll just give you a couple of tips. If it's highly niched, it works. If you're going directly after, and if you've got high reputation and high credibility and the ability to say, I've done this and I've saved this type of client exactly like you, 20 grand, and there's or you know, 200 grand or whatever, and you can word the letter a specific way and send it to very specific people, and then you do a series because one is never enough,
right.
And everybody only does direct mail once and then they give up. So direct mail is probably one of the biggest mistakes, although it does work in some cases. Another one is a telemarketing. We've actually had a couple of firms that said that worked, which I'm kind of surprised. So it does work in some cases. But I know, I'm just going to say, women don't like to do that. Now, there's some men that are more open to that than women. I don't want to bring gender in. I know we were talking about the different generations earlier today, but I know I don't like to, you know, cold call. And so I would prefer to get that client, you know, before they've spent $20,000 on direct mail or $20,000 on telemarketing. So those are just two.
Mm-hmm. So Stacey, you've made a very visible presence for yourself on the internet and taking advantage of a lot of tools that are out there. Can you recall some of the thought process that went into your decision to start the online radio show, or to just be a presence online that has really built your business reputation in a really positive way?
So I spend a lot of time online. I'm a gadget freak. And so I just found some channels that I was following, you know, things that I was doing, and I was on Twitter and I was on Google Plus, and it's just, I don't know that there was really an actual thought process. I just thought, I'm just going to get out there, and this is a really easy way to do it. But like Sandy was saying, you have to be very specific about what it is that you're putting out there, and who you want your audience to be. So if I'm writing for one site, my audience might be different, and I am going to have to write something completely different for another one. And I try to make sure that I'm really conscious of what goes out there too. So, you know, two things I always tell everybody is just avoid politics and religion. Just don't even bring them up. It's going to, because no matter what you say, you're going to alienate 50% of your audience. So just don't. So I don't really know how I just started doing it, and it's fun, and I really enjoy it too. So that I think made it. That I think is why it was kind of successful, is because it was something that I was enjoying doing and I was having fun with it.
Mm-hmm. So your advice, I think you're saying, to someone who's thinking about going down the path of trying to make a dent using social media to actually do some progressive marketing with their firm, would be to find something that they can really connect with. Yeah,
don't try every channel. Don't try every single site. Don't do that. Find one or two that you're comfortable with, and mix it up. Don't make it all buy, hire me. That's the quickest way to have everybody just not pay any attention to you. You know, everybody likes cat pictures. Post a cat picture once in a while. You know, post a funny picture. And you have to get your personality out there, and that's part of what it is. Don't be afraid to post a picture of you, you know, on the beach or with your kids or doing whatever it is, because I've had so many clients come to me and say, hey, I've seen your Twitter feed, and oh, that was really funny. You seem pretty tech savvy. This is the kind of person who I want doing my books. So pick a couple, be conscious of what it is, and don't try and do all of it. And if it doesn't work and you don't like it, then find something else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the telemarketing thing. Because I heard a couple of firms that were doing this, and I was like, really? This is unheard of. Why would anyone even answer that call? However, we have one firm in Moore Stevens that's doing something interesting, which is they're waiting until there has been a lead generated. So someone downloaded a white paper, did something that expressed interest. So it wasn't cold calling, but they were saying that they had a script and they had a role to follow and a goal. And it was to say, hey, I know that you went on my firm's website, and they acted like they were part of the firm even though they were a third party. Right. But you could do it in-house, obviously. You know, you went on my firm's website, I see this. Here's some of the things we do. Are you interested? Or to ask, again, not selling yourself, asking, showing interest in them and why do they download it, et cetera. Are you seeing anything about this? Could this work?
Yes, definitely, and especially for the mid-market clients. If you're going after really large clients, then a lot of times the only way to get in the door is to try to provide a lot of value. And content marketing, the thing about telemarketing, the thing about all these 20 channels, the more you integrate them and the more you use multiple channels, like social media could deliver content marketing, could be followed up by a telemarketer, right? And so you need a stream, you need like an entire campaign that integrates anywhere from 5 to 10 channels and streams all of that. And so, yeah, definitely it could work in conjunction. Cold calling is, and for the larger firms for sure, where they're going after a smaller number of clients. I think I saw 170,000 firms nationwide are some of the larger, higher dollar firms, but there's 28 million really small firms. So you really need to look at different marketing methods depending on the size of your firm.
So you talked about all these touch points, and there's 20 things, and maybe we can get into some of them later. But how do you keep track of all of it? How do you keep track of what you've done? You know, we mentioned CRM systems, I think, in a couple of sessions at this point, which is a dollar amount. It's information. It's time putting that in. How do you figure out how many touch points you've had with this client and really stay on top of that?
Test. The best way to do it is to test. Because every single list of a client that you go after or list of prospects that you go after is going to respond differently. So the best way to do it is to get out there, start doing it, and then just test and see what works and measure. So I can't give you like a be-all, do-all answer, but you know the routine is to just design one, get out there, implement it, and then measure the success and then tweak. And there's a lot of technologies that enable you to do that. There's something called an A/B test. You can send an email out to half your list. And one could have one word differently, and it could, that one word could make all the difference in the world. You could get a 5% uptick in your response depending on how you word something. And so the great marketers measure this. What's really exciting about marketing, once I've gotten into it, now that I've been into it like for 15 years, is that there's a lot of numbers and spreadsheets behind marketing. So we need to not hate it so much.
Oh yeah, that's all about accountants.
It's so fun to do ROI on marketing, you know. And if I ask the traditional accounting partner, what's your cost per lead or cost per acquisition, they don't know. You know, so it's really an area that we need to really kind of open up and start embracing as accountants. I know some of the more progressive accountants are definitely getting into this and helping their clients with it because the small businesses are asking.
What are you seeing? I've been speaking about social media at a lot of conferences over the years and trying to sort of bring accountants into the 21st century in terms of getting used to using tools that maybe seemed silly to them. Like a lot of accountants think that tools like Twitter or Facebook are for kids and for fun and don't have any place in the workplace. And not only do they not have any place, they see them as a negative. Like if I were to do that, people would think I'm unprofessional. So what do you say to that?
Absolutely not. I mean, I just said I've had so many clients contact me because they've somehow seen my Twitter feed or they've read some sort of article and gone and looked at that. We use it for the show. We used to have a live chat room, and so instead of having a live chat room now, we use Twitter. So we have basically, you can go right to the website, QB Show, you know, live. It's embedded right on the show. And then we have our Twitter feed with our hashtag, and everybody can join in on the conversation. So it's not just about marketing, it's about connecting and basically like creating your tribe, right? And that is what is going, those are the people who are going to, they may not be a client, but they may say, oh, well, hey, I'm watching the show, or hey, I follow her on Twitter and she does this. They're going to even give you the referrals too. So I think it's not just about marketing, it's about connecting and really creating that network of people who eventually you'll get more people and they will end up hiring you, or they'll tell somebody, this person, she knows what she's talking about, you want to hire her. So I don't think it's silly. I think it's an amazing tool.
I think Stacy's pretty rare actually, because she's telling me that lead gen works on social media. And so she's been able to get that to work. A lot of accounting firms, I have not seen lead gen work as well on social media as I have some of the less expensive channels, because social media is fairly costly from a labor standpoint. And so it's fairly down the line in terms of expensive and especially a long learning curve. What we see small and micro businesses have a real edge, and especially the businesses that don't audit, because when there are some issues about putting content out when you're in a firm that has audit issues and stuff like that, and tax advice, there are some issues around public trust and stuff like that I do understand why some accounting firm partners might be concerned about. If you're in the smaller business, I find that it's a great channel to feed up into some of the better channels. So for example, we try to use Twitter to give tips as well as to say, hey, please go sign up for my newsletter. And if we can get them on the newsletter, then we control them, because that's a push kind of a marketing to where we have control over, hey, they've given us permission to talk to them again. We warn that lead up over 6 months. There's less one-on-one time for us to do that. And that's what we do. We consider social media a fairly low marketing channel that will be great at moving people up the marketing funnel, so to speak, so that then we have that chance to move that lead into the sales cycle potentially. So and then also reputation build. But that's a little bit different because Stacy's a thought leader and I'm a thought leader. So, I've got half a head count dedicated to doing my social media because we're interested in, that's a goal for my business. So.
Let's talk about mixing business and pleasure on social media. So Twitter's one thing, people use you're using it for newsfeed, LinkedIn, usually pretty professional. You said you post a few pictures of your personal life and whatever. Yeah. But the problem becomes when there's someone, Facebook I think is the biggest problem. And it's not just the owners of the firm, it's the younger people in the firm, right? So they're on it, and all of a sudden they connect with a few of their clients. And all of a sudden there's these pictures and things that they're doing outside of the office, and then there's this, what do you do about that?
So with Facebook, I'm totally like psychotic about it. So if I do a lot of speaking engagements, last year I was on the road 30 weeks doing live training on QuickBooks and whatever, just tons of stuff. And so a lot of times I would get done and I'd get back to my computer and somebody who was in a session would find me on Facebook and want to friend me. No, go find me on LinkedIn or go like my business page. And my rule about Facebook is if I have sat down and had a drink with you, if I know you well enough to send you a text and have just hey, what's up? If I want you to see pictures of my kids, and really get into my life, then I will friend you on Facebook. If I don't know you or we sat here in a and did this, go find me on LinkedIn and we'll connect on LinkedIn, or go like my Facebook page or follow me on Twitter. But I really keep my Facebook page, that is personal, and that's the way for me to connect really truly with my friends and my family, and I use my business page, my Facebook business page, to connect with my clients.
So how do you say this without insulting them? Do you just ignore the request?
Yeah. Or if they continue to send me the request, if it's somebody that I don't know, I'm just going to continue to ignore. that request. But if it's somebody that I kind of know, I'll probably say, hey, you know what? Here's my business page. Why don't you go like my business page? That way, if you need to get a hold of me on Facebook, you can do it that way. But most of the time, if they're just going to I had somebody send me a friend request like 4 times last week. I have no idea who the person was. So I'm just going to ignore it. I have no way to get a hold of her. And if that makes me look like a jerk, that makes me look like a jerk. There's nothing I can do about it. If I don't know you, I'm not going to friend you on Facebook. I'm not going to accept that. There's other ways to connect.
And I do something completely different. So if a client friends me, then I will friend them, but I usually am not aggressive about friending a client. But there are divisions within Facebook in terms of privacy rules, and you can set up lists and groups and all sorts of stuff to separate your private life from your business life. And so I would encourage that be part of a policy if a firm is worried about that.
And the thing with that too is Facebook changes those rules so often.
That is
That's
tricky.
why,
Totally
and that is
understand.
the reason why my Facebook page is strictly friends, family. Like if you don't want to see me and my kids hanging out at the beach, if I don't want you to see that, I'm not going to friend you on Facebook because they do change those rules, and I don't want to have to make sure that I go in and update my privacy settings all the time in Facebook. So, you know, and that's what I really. Like when I talk to other people and they're like, well, what do you do? I just have them go create a Facebook page, just a business page, and go have them like that. And you can connect that way, and it's really, really easy. So, but it's really hard to keep up with that. So I don't want to. I'm too lazy.
So what are you seeing that enables, and maybe we should like tackle one social media tool at a time instead of a cross section, but I'm looking for ideas that really help accountants that you've seen help accountants build better relationships with their clients, not just be out there and have a presence and have clients see them or read what they're posting, but have you seen techniques that actually make the relationship a better relationship and ultimately a better work relationship using social media?
Yes, definitely. We actually teach something called a client communication plan, and we actually sit down with the client and say, give us your top clients. You can do the ABC method, just in case nobody's heard of that. You know, your most profitable clients are going to be your A clients. Your B clients are going to be your bread and butter, and the C clients are probably going to be the ones that you should have fired last season. And so we have this. We recommend that you do more touches. So the goal of the client communication plan is to figure out how many touches you should do with that client. Touches could be a birthday card or a holiday card or a congratulations for 5 years in business card, or could be a phone call, could be a handwritten thank you note. We do a lot of thank you notes in my business. And it could also be a face-to-face meeting, and you do as many of those as you want for your time budget, and you do more with the A group and less with the B group, and not a lot with the C group. And then you have some automation you can do. What we love about staying in touch, like a newsletter, is such a great automatic way to stay in touch with a client, as long as that newsletter is high content value that really gets them educated about accounting or their taxes, or helps them with the profit or time management. Everybody seems to need that. So if it's really good and on topic, then that can count for a lot of touches. You know, if you do a newsletter once a month or every 2 weeks. So we actually have people plan it out. You can use a spreadsheet, or you can get some more sophisticated technology, I guess. We use spreadsheets. So.
Stacey, what have you seen?
Just about connecting.
And building better relationships with your business relationships with your clients.
So I really think, and I always say, like, don't call me, but I really do spend a lot of time talking to my clients, and I will just randomly pick up the phone or send an email. Just wanted to check in, everything okay? Haven't heard from you in a couple days. Just simple stuff like that also really helps too. Send a text, hey, I just had a client who just had a new baby, and hey, how's the new little guy? I haven't seen any pictures, or whatever. Just little simple things like that, and just reaching out and, hey, or I was looking at this, your numbers are a little bit different, and actually connecting them and drawing attention to maybe something that you might have a question about, even though you might know the answer, but it really helps, and they really think, oh, this, she's really paying attention, and she really cares. So that's really how we do it. We don't have any kind of set plan. It's just, I'll just pick up the phone or send a text or shoot an email out and just, hey, checking in, want to see if everything's okay. You need anything?
Are there ways that social media tools can fit into the actual workflow process? I mean, if you're sharing accounting information, can you use those communication tools to connect with your clients in ways that'll kind of fit into your business day?
Yeah, there probably are. I don't know that
sure, I'm
we.
just kind of throwing that out there.
Yeah, I don't know that we do it for the show. Obviously,
Yeah.
we use it for the show. We post, here's our guest, and this is what we're doing, and we ask questions and polls, and we try and get our audience to, give us ideas, like what would you like to see on the show. So I do that probably more with the show than I do with Kildall Services. So yeah, I'm sure there are ways, but I don't do it just in my bookkeeping practice.
I think probably because QBO is so collaborative.
Yeah. I don't really need to that
Right.
much. Yeah.
So, and then for our clients, we use QBO and Xero, and inside the system, we can leave them little love notes, which is great. So, gosh, there's no excuse now if you've got the cloud accounting, because there's places for your love notes for your clients inside the accounting, and we also use ShareFile Portal. And we move things up and down for clients that are on desktop. So that's in the email you can customize it when you've loaded something up. And then I love Jeannie Whitehouse's idea that I learned at this leader conference, which was to leave a little status report that's high level, like 30,000 feet. Like, I booked 20 million this week in sales, and you might want to look at this. But I don't know how she delivers it, but it was just a little piece of paper that she showed on the screen. I thought that was a fabulous idea. It's like a status report when you get done with your client's monthly accounting.
And we do that. We actually do that a lot too. Shannon, my partner, whenever she will usually at least once a week just, hey, here's what we did this week. I noticed that this was kind of misallocated. It was posted to the wrong account. I just wanted to let you know I changed that in case you saw that. So we really try always to keep our clients aware of what we're doing, to just kind of giving them those little status updates. I don't do it as fancy as Jeannie does probably, but it's just like, hey, FYI, if you're looking at this, you posted it here, and we just kind of moved it and fixed it for you, and just FYI, don't do that again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
In the last session, we talked about Marty was using LinkedIn and some other social media tools to post articles. I think also just keeping your audience top of mind, and you're going to have to segregate it, and it shouldn't go to all of your clients, but if you have a certain niche especially, and you read an article, and you don't even have to write it yourself, you forward this article, or you put it on some kind of social media presence, and it gets picked up by other people, it shows that you're thinking about them, that you're not just only going for the one thing, and you can make Twitter be so that you can look for the keywords that matter to them, and if that happens, you can send them. It can all be automated. That you send them a personal message, but it doesn't have to be automated. People don't have to go crazy. They could just be looking for these keywords. Getting into the personal stuff, I heard a great story of a partner, and he had a LinkedIn profile, and he was worried, should I put personal stuff or not? And they copied over his bio, and there was something in his bio that he likes scotch, and I guess there's something called scotch nosing if you're really into scotch, and it's kind of like like you're snotty, you sniff the scotch and you do whatever. I'm not really sure how it works, but it's a thing that scotch drinking people enjoy.
Right.
And he put it on his profile, and he was unsure whether he should keep it up. And within a month, he got 2 clients, people who had never heard of him, that knew him. He was a connection of a connection, and they said, I like scotch too. Why don't we go out and have a scotch together? And they did, and it became a personal thing. And there you go.
That's so important.
Yeah. Oh, go
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So important because we recommend that when you have your bios, there's the last paragraph, you put your hobbies, you know, because believe it or not, people are looking for a reason to call you, and they're scared to call you. If you're just this big high-level accountant, no, oh, you're a CPA, you must be so smart, you know. But if you say you love cats or you love walking, then that's a conversation opener. So that's such a way to decommoditize all the people that are getting commoditized.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. I think you should always, whenever you're listing your bio, you always want to include a little bit of personal information because people, they want to know who you are. Like, I say, you know, I have 2 kids and I like to ride my bike. So I have a lot of other women, oh, well, she's a mom too, so she knows and she runs her business, so she'll be able to help me, you know, do my books, and she understands. And so it's little things like that that are going to make people connect with you. They're going to have that, they really want to have a common denominator. They want something in common with you, and they want to connect with you. And I mean, it's stupid, silly stuff. I mean, I have pink in my hair, and people will go to my website and they say, wow, I definitely, like, this is the kind of person, this is the kind of bookkeeper I want. You're not a traditional, you know, buttoned up. So I called you because I went to your website and I saw your pink hair and I just got a new client. He's an artist. So he said, you were going to understand, you probably are going to understand where I'm coming from and what I'm doing.
So interesting.
So it's, you never know what somebody is going to, what it is that's going to make somebody get a hold of you and hire you.
So Alexandra, did you have a poll that we were going to do?
I did have a question. This is an open-ended polling question. And if you bear with me 1 second, I will bring it up. The question is, what is the most unique or interesting place that you met a client, either virtually or physically? So you can text your answers to 22333, or you could tweet them to @poll. You're going to use this code here, 693251. And the question is, what is the most unique or interesting place that you met a client, either virtually or physically? So while we're waiting for people to give some responses to that, you know, we talked about the typical Chamber of Commerce rubber chicken, blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes, or you have the client cocktails or whatever. What are some really unique, interesting places that you've seen people meeting clients, or that you meet your own clients? Sandy.
Oh my goodness. Actually, most of what we do is virtual because our clients are in 7 countries and 50 states. So I have stopped local networking. So I don't have a good answer to that, but when I did network, I loved working with women's groups. I loved joining women's business associations. I loved going into professional associations, not accounting associations, but professional associations that were tangential to my interest in my profession. So for example, National Speakers Association, wonderful place, can't get a word in edgewise, but other than that, you know, I loved working with them. So things like that, yeah.
Stacey.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Unique places that you've met clients.
Oh gosh, I mean, I've met clients at the grocery store. I travel a lot, so on a plane, you just happen to be talking to somebody. I mean, you never know when you're going to meet a client. I usually always try and keep a business card. One of my kids' friends, his mom, she was over dropping the kids off the other day, and she said, hey, she asked, what is it that you do again? And I said, oh, I do QuickBooks. She whips out her phone. She's like, can I just ask you a really quick question? She logs in to QuickBooks on her phone. And so I answered the question, and she has actually sent me 3 or 4 clients already. Wow. So you never know. I mean, you absolutely positively never know.
It is so important to get a QuickBooks t-shirt and wear it to the grocery store. I have heard that a million times. And you know what the other kind of grassroots marketing tip is? Get a little plate for your car. And when you're driving around, literally, I hope the people don't have a wreck trying to write your phone number down because QuickBooks consultants are so in demand.
Yeah, I used to have that. I used to have that on my car, and I took it off because I got so many calls. I used to have, and so I was just, I can't do that anymore. And so, and the other thing too that I want to say is, a lot of times I'll get, you probably get this too, where you get somebody who's asking a question. And so there's two kind of, I think, camps, and some people think you should get paid for everything and make sure you bill for everything. But sometimes, I had somebody call me the other day, or she emailed me, and I said, hey, you know what, I picked a phone really quick. I said, I have a couple seconds. And we were talking, and I said, you know what, I would love to take your money, but why don't I send you a couple links? And I think that's going to be your best option. Like, start there first. And then, so I did that. Oh, that was 2 weeks ago. She just emailed me yesterday, and she said, okay, so we have this project now, and we want to work with you on it. So, like, you never know. That's what I'm saying. Like, you just never know where the next client is going to come from. And that particular question that she had, it was very easily answered. I had a couple links to give to her. And I had something like that happen the other day, or a couple months ago. It was this summer. Somebody had a question about nonprofits, and they were a nonprofit, and they wanted, and I said, you know what, I do not do nonprofit work. It's not my jam. It's totally not my gig, but here are some names of people. And she was so excited that I hooked her up with somebody who took care of her, that she said, oh, hey, here's 2 other people who I know that need help. And so now I have 2 new payroll clients.
Cool.
So you never know. Like, take 5 minutes and answer the question.
I'd like to go in a slightly different direction for a minute, and at the risk of beating a horse to death in terms of talking about generations, which we've done a lot today, but I think that there's definitely, I think everybody can admit that with the advent of social media and all of the options for communicating and sharing pictures and stories and adventures, the culture is changing to be very transparent for younger people who don't even really think twice about sharing information, whether it's with business associates or personal people, because there's such a blend between business and personal that it's an easy choice to just post something and share. But I think for older people who've grown up with more of a sense of privacy, and who wouldn't even give out their phone numbers unless it was someone they knew personally, that there's kind of a reluctance to jump into social media and start being transparent, even if we're just talking about posting things that are pretty innocuous, or just like some, don't forget the tax extension deadlines or this week or something.
Right.
They just don't want to get out there and be that visible. So what advice would we have for people who have been reluctant to get involved in social media, but who are ready to maybe take some of those little baby steps and test the waters in a kind of controlled environment? How do they get out there and do it in a way that's going to feel safe for them?
I say go lurk. Just be a lurker. Sign up for Twitter. You don't have to post, retweet. You see something very interesting, go ahead and retweet it. You see something on Google+, go ahead and like it, share it with your circle. So just go lurk and see what's happening. Go join a LinkedIn group. You don't necessarily, Michelle Long has what, a 3,000 million, she's got what, 100,000 people? Yeah, she's got like 80 jillion people in her LinkedIn group. Not all of them are participating in that group. So just go look and watch what happens, and then when you have something that's interesting or you see something that you want to share, then go ahead and share it. It doesn't necessarily have to be your content. Mm-hmm. So I would say just be a lurker for a little while. Get a feel for it.
And I would suggest that they get only on LinkedIn, just to start with. It is the most conservative, most professional social media channel that there is. So they could get on LinkedIn. They would need to probably put their profile. They could put a very brief bio. They wouldn't have to put their picture, but I would recommend that they do. This is another thing I argue a lot with accountants on. They're very reluctant to put their picture, but it's important because it's just like dating. Marketing is just like dating. If you don't have a picture, you're not going to get any response. And social media has made that happen for us. So whether we like it or not, don't shoot the messenger. If you don't have a picture, I know that when we do websites, if they don't give us a picture, that's the first thing I go look at if they call us and say, hey, we'd like to get a little bit more response off the website. Well, first you've got to follow. You've got to do the picture.
See who
Yeah, they
they're
do.
dealing with. Yeah.
They think you're like a dog on the internet. You know, so that's pretty important. And but LinkedIn would be a very good conservative. I don't know what the stat is. Probably over 75% of accountants are on LinkedIn.
An awful lot. Any surveys I've seen.
If you go to
comfortable there.
socialcpa's.com, they just have a survey on that, and you can find out. But the vast majority of CPAs and accountants have joined LinkedIn, so you know the mainstream is there. So if you want to be where the mainstream is, you should be there, and just don't connect with anyone that you don't know. And just fill out as much as you're comfortable with, and that is a good start to put the toe in the water.
Okay. Alexandra, did we get any interesting stories about how people have met clients?
I think Stacy covered it, unfortunately. I think a lot of the East Coasters have turned in for the evening. But I will tell you that I pulled up the last Social CPA survey, which is a great tool that they use. It's from the 2013 stats anyway, it was close to 90% that used LinkedIn, and then it was much lower for Facebook, was 75, and I think that's mostly human interest stuff. You know, look at we won Best Firm to Work. It's a great recruitment tool for that. And then Twitter was 45%. But I mean, from year over year, you're just seeing the numbers go higher and higher when people are seeing
and it's
the
exponentially higher and higher. I mean, it's amazing. So
I mean, I remember sitting on a panel with Gail, I don't know, 2009 or something, and we're educating people what does it mean to like or a page or fan. It was fan a page at that time, so I think it's less scary these days. So
All right, let's just go down the panel real quickly and say, of all the social media tools that are out there that you use, what's your favorite? Alexandra?
I really like LinkedIn because I think it allows me to remember people, how I met them, whether it is at a conference or whatever. I could lurk, and I could also follow my competitors, which is great. And there's some interesting news stories out there, so it's a lot of things all in one.
Okay. Sandy?
Great. You know, I love Facebook, and the reason is we have private closed groups for our clients, and wow, the interaction is so great. They're asking each other questions. They're getting great intel. You know, the last couple questions were, what's the best marketing method you've ever used, or that's been the best response, and everybody contributed to that. So easy to see the responses, and what are you doing to get ready for tax season, and what tool are you using here, and just some great collaboration, and so I love that. It's closed group, it's totally private, nobody can see it except those members, and so that's why I'm a little partial to Facebook.
I'm a Twitter addict.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love Twitter because it's easy. It's, you don't have to have a real big attention span. You can post stuff, you can come back to it. It's a nice little break in the day. So I was dragged kicking and screaming to sign up for Twitter. I will say that. So, and I absolutely love it. And Reddit too. I don't know if anybody ever goes on Reddit, but there is a subreddit for everything that anybody could be interested in. And there's even, there's QuickBooks and there's accounting ones. So I'd say those are probably my two biggest.
Okay. Now I could go in the direction of YouTube, so we'd have lots of bases covered, but instead I think I'll be a tiebreaker here. I would pick LinkedIn, and I think the thing I like perhaps best about LinkedIn is when you meet someone and you, in real life, if you exchange business cards or something, don't you often take their card and turn it over and write on the back where you met that person or what impressed you about that person or what you want to remember? Well, there's kind of I think, a little known tool in LinkedIn that's called Notes that lets you write personal stuff on the connection that you've made. That's just, you're the only one who sees it. But so it's like writing on the back of that card, but it's all saved online, so you could throw out the card.
Yeah.
So so I vote for LinkedIn for the notes feature.
I like LinkedIn too. I can't pick one. That's the thing. Like, I have a hard time picking just one because I use all of them so differently. I mean, we use YouTube for the show,
Right.
you know, so we use Google Hangouts for the show, so I'm a huge Google Hangout fan. I love Twitter. I mean, I like them all.
All right, well, we hope this has been useful to you, and we hope that you go out and take some of those first steps towards using social media to improve your relationships with clients, if you haven't done so already, and or take the next steps to do an even better connection with your clients using these tools that aren't terribly scary and really can be worthwhile.